Ray Didinger joining us in
Ray
our rally in Royersford. Ray Diddy with us the day before the Eagle season. Ray, how are you?
Well, now that I've found out that there are more than one MaGerks in the Delaware Valley.
Oh, there's quite a few lately. Popping up.
I went to the MaGerks that we've always been in. So I was in Hatboro at 11:15. So they told, no, we're closed. The event you're talking about is in Royersford. So I've been driving for the last little while trying to get here.
But traffic's a beast.
Now that I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. So what are we're talking about number 26,
Yeah, we're talking about a lot as the Eagle season starts tomorrow. But you walked in a debate about Saquon.
Right.
And, Ray, the history of the NFL says it's very hard to repeat what he just did, right? The number of carries, touches.
It's never been done.
But I do think he's uniquely positioned to have another season close to. I think about what Terrell Davis did for those couple years in Denver with Elway and that offensive line and that great team. Emmitt Smith had some years where he was leading the league year after year touches. I think Saquon could have another incredible season. The 2,000 is a special number, but where do you stand on the idea of him coming close to replicating last year?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about just the numbers, I don't expect him to do 2,000 again. But I think the offense is going to be a little bit different because teams will now be playing the Eagles differently than they did a year ago. And they come into every game fully expecting and respecting what Saquon can do. But to me, that's going to open up opportunities for Jalen Hurts in the passing game. So I expect them. I don't think they're going to come a predominantly passing team because that's not what they are. But I think they'll throw it more this year, and I think they'll throw it more effectively. I don't expect Saquon to hit 2,000 again, but I don't think he has to hit 2,000 for them to go back to the Super Bowl. You know, I think if he has – I heard some of the numbers you guys are bouncing back and forth, 1,500, 1,600. Is that doable? Yeah, maybe. But I don't think he has – I think some people think, well, he has to replicate what he did last year for this team to go back and win another Super Bowl, and I don't. But now I expect him to have a big year. But statistically, I don't expect him to do 2,000 again.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. And I don't think he needs to. And I think they'll open up the offense a little bit more with the new coordinator and the adjustments. Are you concerned at all about the wear and tear? It's his career, right? He's been in the league since 2018. But just last year, he was pushing up against 500 touches.
500 touches, yeah. Yeah, of course. You has been around long enough and played long enough in the league that he's seen guys come through and have years like that. And never be the same again. We remember Jamal Anderson in Atlanta.
Yeah, Brian Westbrook had a year, like not statistically running the ball, but he had that all-purpose 2,000-yard year, and it never did it again.
Exactly. So it is really, really hard to do. But I don't think anybody has to go into this thinking, well, he has to do that again for this team to be really good. I think he'll be – do I think he's going to be a significantly diminished guy physically? No. I think he's just a unique athlete, Joe. We just haven't seen many guys like that. So I expect him to come back, and he has said all summer that he feels fine. And they certainly didn't ask him to do a whole lot during the summer, but when they did in practice and all, he looked like he still had the same step. So I think he's going to be physically fine. And the other part about this is I think Will Shipley's a good player.
I agree.
I really do. So I think there'll be opportunities to get him involved in the offense, do a few different things, and keep things rolling and give Saquon a little time off here and there. And I think that offensively, I think they're going to be fine. There's some issues now with the new coordinator, which you're going to have to work out. It's unfortunate for the Eagles that the schedule is so tough so early, because there's going to be some of that stuff that Kevin and Jalen are going to have to work through in terms of their communication, getting plays in and all. And, your schedule, I think the Thursday game shouldn't be too tough, but the three after that will be. And they're going to have to work through some things to hit their stride. But I think that this team, it's very tough to try and do this thing 2 years in a row. But they have a really good group of players. And from what I saw of them this summer, I think that the focus is there. I don't think they have any emotional or mental issues coming into this season. Even though they don't talk about defending a championship, I think they are very, very focused on going back and doing it again.
Well, it feels like that. And I love to hear you say you feel like the offense is going to be in a good spot. Because the offense last year, it felt choppy, right? Overall, they did enough. I mean, the running game carried them at times.
Oh, sure.
But they ended up probably as the top 10 offense. Look at points per game. It just felt choppy. I think they could be better and just maybe more consistent offensively. Do you feel that too?
Well, I think a lot depends with the communication between Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts and his play calling and how quickly the two of them begin to see the offense through the same set of eyes. I mean, there are little things that have to be worked out that the average fan or the average viewer doesn't even realize. But, I mean, those seconds in terms of the communication, if Kevin is a little bit of a slow processor and is 4 or 5 seconds slower getting plays into Jalen's helmet, then that's 4 or 5 or 6 seconds less that he has to do what he has to do at the line of scrimmage, and that can just throw everything off. By the middle of last season, the communication between Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts was really clicking. I mean, you could just see it. I mean, they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they were an extremely efficient offense. And they can be that again, but logic tells you and experience tells you that it's not going to be there right away. They'll reach that point, but the schedule's not going to allow them a whole lot of slack in terms of how soon they reach that point. This schedule, I know people say, oh, you keep making a big deal about the schedule. You keep talking about the schedule. Man, it is really tough. I mean, I looked at it, and I know the defending Super Bowl champs, by the way the league schedules, they always get a tough schedule. Right. I understand that. But the number, I mean, you're facing 10 teams. 10 of your games are against teams that made the playoffs last year, and a lot of them are stacked and in ways that it's really going to be hard.
There's not really breathing spots either. I mean, there's a couple games here and there. The Giants, we'll see what they are, probably not good again. The Raiders here, we'll see what they are, but probably not a great team. But there's not like 3 or 4 in a row, Ray, where they get off. Like last year when they got off to the 2-2 start, it was then Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jaguars. That was like, all right, we can get our feet back under us.
They
here.
Worked a lot of things out.
They don't have that stretch this year.
Yeah, I mean, what you said, that was a really important. People forget about that part of it, but I mean, you saw how when you said choppy. You remember how they looked in that Cleveland game?
Yeah.
I mean that was a.
They needed a defensive stand at the end to win.
The fans were booing them in the fourth quarter. I mean, yeah. But over the next couple of weeks, they had opponents that they could handle, and you began to see this thing smoothing out. And they finally figured out what they needed to be and what they needed to do to be a good offensive team. And once they hit their stride, by the back half of the year, they were the best team in football. There wasn't any doubt about that. But it took them a little while to get there. This schedule is going to make it harder for them to reach that. They can do it, but it's not going to be an easy ride. And by the way, this is just my feeling. I may be proven entirely wrong. Okay, I think the Giants are going to be pretty good. I mean, I saw them twice this preseason, and I know, I know. I've got you sitting next to me, and he's had enough preseasons that he knows how easily you can be fooled by preseason. But I think the Giants have a chance to be pretty good.
Well, that changes the calculus on the schedule even more, because if you picked out the 5 easiest games, right, just based on what the team last year and what maybe the projection is for this year, the Giants would be 2 of those. And if they're pretty good, to your point, that makes the schedule even more daunting.